Good evening. So I've had these Eaglemoss models lying around the house for a few days now, and I decided I would do the polite thing and open them with your good selves. I haven't advertised this, so I have no idea how many people might turn up, but I am live right now, and I'm going to start opening random boxes. All right, they're not random. I know what they are, but I don't know what order they're coming out in. So there you go. Say hello to people if anyone joins the chat. The boy races are out. Super. Right. So these are normal sized Eaglemoss models, not the XL ones. And I was taking advantage of one of their 3 for 2 offers because it gets you a really good discount and lowers your average price, as you would imagine. But I always find it a little bit tricky to get the ones that I actually need in terms of what's in stock. But I'm trying to fill out my enterprise collection. So let's start off with the Sovereign class NCC-1701-E. Of course, this is the enterprise that we first saw in First Contact after the poor Galaxy class got nobbled by an ancient Klingon bird of prey. Strange but true. I have learnt from previous experience, and I have a pair of scissors about my person with which to open the box. There we are. I have been spending a fair bit of cash on these of late because they are absolutely gorgeous models, and I'm kicking myself for being so slow to the party, really, regarding them. There's a few more examples of the ships on the back there that you can get. So we've got the NCC-1701-D, E, Nothing, Klingon battle cruiser, and C and Delta Flyer there. There's examples of other things you can get your mitts on. Now, as I say, I should point out that it isn't just the Eaglemoss website that you can get stuff from. They are sold through other stores as well. But obviously, I've tended to go to them direct simply because of the 3 for 2 offers being such good value for money. Other places may well put them on sale as well. There's a rather nice booklet that you get with it. You get booklets with all of them, one way or another. With the smaller box sets like this one, they obviously are smaller because they don't have room in the box for anything else. But if you get the XL sized ships, then you do get larger A4 sized magazines. You can see there you get quite a lot of detail. You get screenshots from the films and the episodes, and just gives you more sort of canon background on the ship that you have purchased. So I'll leave that one up there. And let's just lift the top off here. They are quite sturdy, but I am obviously quite respectful of them nevertheless. You see, this is what amazes me about these. If you look at the actual sort of width of that, there really isn't that much to it. And yet the sheer level of detailing on the top of the saucer section there is absolutely phenomenal. As I understand it, these are hand painted. I mean, that's just bonkers. Look at that. It's incredible. It's not massively heavy. Then, of course, this is quite a slight ship. I mean, I'm trying to think if, I suppose Voyager came first, but this takes after Voyager in having this sort of oval-shaped saucer section. Although, equally, if you looked at it in that sort of in that alignment, then it looked more like a Galaxy class kind of saucer section. So I guess Galaxy class was doing it first, but apparently, and I don't know if this is actually the case, but apparently they decided to come up with a new Enterprise because this is easier to shoot in a cinematic fashion because it's 16:9, whereas the Galaxy class was more designed for sort of a 4:3 ratio TV screen. I've no idea if that's actually the reason, or if they just fancied a shiny new one, because if you notice in Generations quite a lot that the old Galaxy class was obviously not rigged for sort of cinematic use. The sets were quite old and quite battered looking, so they if you notice that the light is quite low level in Generations, I believe that's why, because they knew they couldn't get away with lighting it bright enough. It hid a lot of flaws, basically. If anyone's watching, you can tell me if the sound's okay for you. That would be terrific. It's the first time I've gone live with my actual proper webcam type camera, so this is a bit of an experiment in some respects. So there you can see you get the oh, that's a bit too bright. There we go. So you get the a little sort of sticker on the bottom of the stand just to tell you what it is that you're supposed to stand up on it. And now comes the part where I'm supposed to pop the I'm going to guess over the impulse engines. Okay, there you go. So there you go. So freestanding stand now. I'll put that on there. There she is. So I've made a sort of agreement with myself not to go beyond this sort of point timeline-wise. I know that there is an Enterprise F in Star Trek Online, but I don't play it, so I'm not claiming to that particular one means anything to me. I know I could go as high up as a J if I wished, but I'm going to keep to this sort of the era that I'm most familiar with, which is the sort of I don't know. I was going to say pre-2000, but maybe it's a bit later than that. So let's go Klingon now. Now, this one I actually I also said to myself I probably wouldn't do this, but I have anyway. But I do have the XL of this one. You can see the unboxing video of this on my YouTube channel here. I'm just pausing for a moment because yes, there we go. Okay, on there. It's slightly tougher to get into, and it would be tougher because it's a Klingon ship, obviously. Goes without saying, really, isn't it? So I'm not quite sure which class of Klingon bird of prey this is supposed to be, but let's get her out and have a look. Okay. So what does this say? It just says Klingon bird of prey, but it is this is a Burrell class. This is the I want to say that's the larger one. It is the larger one, isn't it? But that's the same as the XL class. Yes, this is the one that was in Star Trek 3. So it's the one they end up borrowing for the voyage home and so on. So there we are. I think I've got that right. Have I got that the right way around? I think that's right, isn't it? Is it the Cavort that's the smaller one? I can get this back to front inevitably. The XL Bird of Prey was the first XL ship that I got, so it was quite the investment. But I was absolutely bowled over by the sheer level of detail on it, as I've come to expect from them now, of course, and the sheer weight of the thing and the solidness of it was just remarkable. The only thing, obviously, I would recommend is that you be very careful with the wing-mounted disruptors. I mean, you can see it's a lovely, lovely paint job, as I've come to expect from them. You can see the detail on the wing there is phenomenal, and it's exactly what as you would expect to see it. I mean, the detailing under the wing as well there is also incredible. But you do just have to watch the disruptor cannons. I very, very, very stupidly moved my XL on the stand in my hand without two hands on the damn thing. And of course it fell. And yet somehow, in fairness to them, the disruptor cannon did hold on, but it nearly bent off. And I was able to repair it after a fashion. But one of these days, if I have to fill out an order on a 3-for-2 offer, I might just treat myself to a spare, just in case the same thing happens again, because then it will then be a battle damage to Klingon Bird of Prey, which as appropriate as it might be, would probably be quite irritating. Why have I got this? Well, I got this one in part to fill the order out a little bit, but also because I'm struggling to fill opposition ships. Now, obviously, technically, Next Generation is not an opposition ship. In fact, Next Generation arguably becomes more of a hero ship because obviously the Defiant sometimes teams up with a bird of prey against a Dominion. But in this particular circumstance, it's more to do with the fact that I wanted an opposition ship, or at least something other than a Federation starship to go alongside all my Enterprises. It looks like I'm going to have to get a Romulan Warbird or similar from another site because I just cannot find it in stock on Eaglemoss, at the Hero Collector website ever. Unfortunately, that's got the smallest stand grip I have ever seen on one of these so far, and I'm guessing it just slots into the. Well, I'm assuming it goes into the back of the. I'm very puzzled by this now because I'm not entirely sure where this is supposed to go. It must just go into the impulse engines at the back. Is there a little gap there? Oh yeah, okay. Wow, that's tight. Okay. I'm going to cross my fingers on this one. Yep, that's gone. Okay. You might forgive me if I don't hold this one up, but that's the only place I can imagine it's supposed to be. I'm just going to quietly shuffle that over there without lifting it to any sort of distance. Okay, so you can see it's aimed upwards at an angle, and that's just the stand. The see-through element of the stand has just gone straight into the impulse engines, which is unusual to say the least. But hopefully it'll stay put there. So the last two. Now this one I rather like because obviously in terms of the actual series, if you discount Discovery, this represents the sort of the last iteration of, well, and ironically the first iteration of the Enterprise. And being of a certain age, I grew up on Quantum Leap. So having Scott Bakula as a captain of the Enterprise was rather nice for me because it was rather like old times. And I hope he enjoyed the role as well. And I thought it was very cleverly done because, as I'm sure with many other people, I have issues a little bit with Discovery and quite how good some of its tech is for that era. It's obviously Discovery is really a reboot. There's no you can't argue with that as a concept because it's not using all the traditional elements that we're used to seeing. But on that basis, Enterprise I think was probably the last of what I would call the traditional series, shall we say? You know what I mean by that. So there's the rather nice cover of the booklet, and this clearly harks back to it's rather, I think it's wrong. Is it like the Akira class? A little bit like the Akira class, in terms of it not really having a massively distinct secondary hull. Got a little bit of a secondary hull, but not much of one. But I like the design, and it always makes me chuckle when it goes atmospheric as well. Like that's always been a thing, but it's nice, and you can see it's a really cleverly done precursor to the ships that follow it. Sorry, I'm just wrestling with getting this open. There we go. It's quite big actually. This for one of the smaller models, they've done it in a surprisingly large scale. Let me just go into the boxes, and so you can see that compared to the Sovereign. Now cue the Sovereign falling over on me, but that's quite chunky. Well, there we go. See, I knew every time I should know better by now, shouldn't I? But but that's huge compared to the Sovereign. I know some people do complain a little bit about the scale of these. I mean, that's quite a satisfying thing to hold. You can hold it really easily, just either side of the pylons there. So yeah, it's nice. I'll show you some of the detail a bit closer there. So again, I mean, you know, the level, the quality of detail on these is always really, really impressive. It's very, very impressive, and they feel really solid because they're largely metal. It tends to be the nacelles that are out of plastic, but the saucer sections are very, very frequently very, very solid, heavy die cast. So it's, you know, you don't have any qualms about holding onto it or anything else like that. And I've touched wood. I've had the odd niggle with, you know, the nacelles sometimes being a little bit wobbly if they're not sort of single piece ones. But apart from that, I can't say that I've ever had anything majorly wrong with any of these that I've noticed. It's possible I'm just not that picky. I don't know, but you know, let's probably stand out. Rustle. Okay. I'm really hoping the sound's all right on this because I say I've never gone live on now on this setup before. Let's have a look. I'm thinking this is like the bird of prey in the. I think that's the impulse engine assembly there. I'm hoping it's designed to go into there. Okay, there we go. Seems very, very, very solid. Touch wood. I can't get over how much bigger that is than the Sovereign, when the Sovereign really ought to be absolutely huge. But there you go. That's what it is. Now, this last one, I kind of bent my own rules here because I was generally trying to fill out my Enterprise collection, but they did not have the NCC 1701 original series with nothing in the way of prefixes, and I think the others I now have. So I went for something else. So I went for a ship which those of you who are familiar with the series will immediately recognise, and it is Captain Picard's first ship, the Stargazer, NCC 2893. Now, it doesn't appear in many episodes, but it's a very interesting class. And you know what? I'm going to say that it's Constellation class. Okay. I always used to get that muddled up with Constitution class. I think it's Constellation. I was going to say Challenger for some reason. I'm not even sure what a Challenger class ship looks like. But it was quite an unusual looking ship, having 4 nacelles. I don't know if we've ever seen that before. We've seen it afterwards, I think. What was that Voyager ship called that could split into 2-3 pieces? Because I mean, imagine even that, technically speaking, it wasn't 4. It was only 4 once it split up. But I think there is another more modern version that does have 4. I know there are Star Trek Online ships that have 4 nacelles, but it's an unusual configuration for a Federation ship, and so you do tend to remember it as such. And of course, this is the ship that as I recall, the Ferengi salvaged and then used to try and take Picard into a trap. I can't remember what ended up happening to us in the end. Again, you see, this is really interesting because this is big. Compared to the Sovereign, it's really quite big. The amount of mess off camera is now quite impressive. So there she is. So yeah, plastic nacelles. That's kind of what I'd expect, but a more solid saucer section. That's interesting. She's got one. If you can see that there, she's got one sort of kind of, sort of like turret mounted weapon or sensor array or something there, but not on the other side. It's quite unusual that, because I mean, generally speaking, Federation ships are have quite a lot of bilateral symmetry. Yeah, that's unusual for a Federation starship to be slightly off kilter like that. It's an interesting little design. You just sort of wonder why the 4 nacelles. I mean, useful for redundancy purposes, I guess. But you can see their sort of Constitution NCC 1701A type nacelles. They're not next generation nacelles. So she was a relatively old ship, and that might be indicated by her registry number as well. But interestingly, the saucer section isn't a circle. It's a sort of teardroppy sort of shape. So that's quite interesting as well. So it's quite an unusual, sort of design of starship. I mean, you can see the sort of the bridge section and the underslung section are not dissimilar to the older Enterprises, but it's you can tell it's just that sort of one stage on from them, perhaps. So quite pleased I've got that, because I mean it ties in nicely with Next Generation, and I suppose it fits into that era that we don't really see a lot of in the series, because of course that sort of yesterday's Enterprise kind of era we've not really ever seen on screen, because of course Discovery starts earlier than that, so we still haven't seen that sort of era on screen, which is interesting. And I do half wonder whether or not there is an opportunity for them there to sort of plonk something in the middle, if you like, and sort of go between the original series and the Next Generation and fill in that gap. Because I had this thought the other night. I was watching an episode that had I think it was Tin Man, actually. Someone has put some clips up of that, and it had the Diderodex warbirds in it. And I was wondering actually which Romulan warbird style actually was engaged by the Enterprise C in yesterday's Enterprise, because it's never really stated, I don't think, as to what exactly they were up against when they went back, and what was attacking the outpost. So, it wasn't clear to me exactly what they would have been fighting, because of course we've never seen a Romulan warbird of exactly that era. They might have been the old school ones, with sort of just the wing shape, the sort of very flat wing shaped ones. But somehow I think it would have been more of a sort of a bridging concept between that and the Diderodex. So it would have been just quite interesting. And so there's number 4. So let me sort of arrange these in a slightly more visually pleasing fashion for you. So interesting. So the Stargazer is bigger than the NX-01, which is bigger than the Sovereign class Enterprise. But of course, the Bird of Prey has them probably all beaten in terms of width. But so that's what I got for my sort of 3 for 2 offer. So it's all good. It's all good stuff. I have no issues at all with the value for money of it. I mean, it's not the world's cheapest hobby. It's not when you're getting the larger ones. But again, if you get the larger ones on 3 for 2, then you save yourself 50 quid, which is not bad going. I mean, if you can get them in a sale somewhere else and knock yourself out, but as limited as the Hero Collector site's stock sometimes is, you probably won't get much better in anyone else's stock levels either, and you won't have as wide a range. So, you pays your money and you takes your choice, basically. So, so that's another example of the rather lovely quality of the Eaglemoss Starship collection, various, and they do other stuff as well. So, got some Batmobiles coming out, I believe. So, have a look at that. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I have got some really big ones to unbox as well. I might do more of a pre-recorded one for that, because I don't know, how live streams generally work out, and this will have been a bit of a test. So I'll have a look at how this one worked and then decide what I'm going to do after that. So thanks for watching. I guess you probably watched this after the fact, because not many people have been watching during. But thanks for bearing with, and I hope that's given you some ideas for what to get next in your own collection. So cheers.